Kate, welcome to the Retail Whore podcast.
So nice to be here. I'm so excited to be talking to you.
I love it. Okay, I'm going to go through and tell the story right now. We were introduced to Lindsay. We were supposed to do the live podcast. I felt like it was going to be more impactful to have you on here. Fast forward, I meet you with Nora's team and whatnot. I'm still not putting two and two together. Lindsay's, we know each other. I got busy, totally forgot I was supposed to be doing this interview and circle back around. Lindsay reintroduces us, and then all of a sudden the light bulb went off like, oh my God, this is this amazing lady I met with Nora's team.
Yes, and we had such a good conversation about everything. So
we're going to talk about that book because I've already told other people about it. And one of those, I have a lot of woo-woo people that are here that I just feel like it's like one of those things we'll talk about as we get into it. But for right now, introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Kate Duff, and I am the founder of Claxton Consulting. I have been in this gift industry, which I'm always like the largest industry that no one's ever heard of, and everything we all buy comes through. But I've been in this industry since right out of college, so 20-some years now. And it's really exciting. So I've been on the vendor side. I worked for Pomegranate. That was my first company, and that was table linens and quilted bags back in the day.
Oh my gosh, I remember that.
Right? And we weren't the Vera Bradley ones. We were the other ones. And so that was like super fun. And then I spent most of my career with Archipelago Botanicals, the candle, lotion, and potion company. How deep do you want me to go into this? Do you want this whole, do you want the whole story? Okay.
Well, I'll interject and ask you some questions, as we go along, but I think it's always really valuable for people to understand, you're a consultant. So it's like your knowledge and how you got point. Like, I think that's really valuable.
Okay, good. You stop me if I'm giving too much detail, but I'll go through. But I always think this part's important too. And I think because, I was at Pomegranate. I wanted to move to LA. I was living in Lexington, Kentucky, because I went to University of Kentucky. And a bunch of my girlfriends had gotten a house in Venice, California. And they were like, we have an extra room. And I'm like, well, I'm most certainly going to do that. And so I just stalked the people at Archipelago because they're based downtown LA until they were worn down and hired me in. And it was great. I really learned so much from, there was an amazing VP of sales, Meg Tully at the time, and I learned so much about the business. And
what did you do there?
So I started as a sales manager and then kind of ended up being the VP of sales and came back around. But originally I started out as a sales manager. And I met my first business partner there. She was doing product development. And she had really been there interning and been there all the way through too. And so I met Alexi, and it was very funny because at first we were like, do we like each other? Do we not? Whatever. But we ended up having lunch together, and she was talking about, this is, I don't know, maybe 2 years into this. She started talking about this business idea she had. And I was like, well, just tell me what it is. And she's like, I can't because I don't want anyone to steal it. I was like, well, listen, my parents have been in retail. Like, my parents had a bunch of stores and home decor. And I was like, I have no interest in ever starting my own business. So just tell me what the idea is and stop being weird. Well, she told me that she had this idea for 3 fluid ounces, which was travel size beauty, grooming, and wellness products all together in one website. This is before Sephora had their travel section, and this is before Bed Bath & Beyond. But after the 3.4 fluid ounce rule at airports. So that's kind of the timeline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is also kind of right around the time where Birchbox came out. Right around when Guilt had started. So it was a lot of like these female founders, super cool, super fun. So I was like, you know what? I said I didn't want to do my own business, but we're going to take your idea and we're going to raise it. And we're only going to do like high end stuff. And this is what I came in like a, whirling dervish. And I went to a family reunion. We had a 1-page business plan, and I raised just enough money for us to kind of get it started. We had already talked to the guys from Archipelago who have like loved us all the way through, and they were super supportive of us going out and figuring out our own path. We decided it had to happen in New York because that is where, the female founders were doing big things. And so both of us moved from LA to New York, and we took the money that we raised and started the website. And we started really doing well and getting a ton of press. And like the press was crazy, like on Bloomberg and doing all this stuff. Like it was amazing. And so then we kept raising money and it was going really well. We ended up in this like amazing e-commerce, like put on by Liberty Media. So we were in all these circles with the Birchbox founders, with the Guilt Group, like, and Alexia, like we had no idea what we were doing. Like no idea
like this,
like no idea what we were doing, but we had tenacity and we were just like going to figure it out. And so I would say I'm horrible with like date ranges and like how long things took, but X amount of years. And we realized we wanted to have some kind of point of sale, but because of like watching how hard my parents had worked all the years and stuff, I was like, I don't want traditional retail, but I do want a retail aspect to this. And so this is when all those fancy vending machines started popping up at airports, Benefit, Best Buy, all of those. So we went out and we raised a ton of money and we bought 100 of those fancy vending machines.
That is shit.
Yes. And it was incredibly stressful, like I talk about these things now. I am a reframer. It's important to note this. So I forget the bad things, right? Like I remember being stressed and whatnot, but I have now reframed this story so many times because that's just how I function in the world. I'm like, everything for a reason. Everything led me to where I was supposed to. So if some people could listen to this and they'd be like, man, she's making it seem like it was a walk. It was not a walk in the park. It was a lot of stress. I was a 30-year-old with shingles, raising money. Like I could do a whole podcast on that and how important being detached. Like I knew nothing. I didn't understand all the pressure. I didn't understand when you're raising money, those people are okay with the risk. I took it all so personally that I needed to succeed. And so I can look back now and I'm like, the need to succeed at times made me risk averse, which being a risk taker was what had gotten me so far at that point. So anyway, so I ended up with these machines and we were in 50 some of the top airports. I've been to more airport conventions than I can name, and it's a whole different world. We had a lot of connections, obviously from the gift world. So like Archipelago wanted to be in the machines and we had all this stuff and it was great. Orbe, who had never sold anywhere outside of a salon, started making travel size products for us, for our machines, because we were getting so much press. And
I have to back up. So you guys are producing the small bottles and you have manufacturer brands like Orbe and Archipelago. They are putting their product in your bottles in your machines.
No, my machine as standard retail. So I have a website and I'm originally just buying the products from them, but they were making travel size. They hadn't been making travel size.
Okay, that's it.
So like none of this had really gotten going yet.
You're curating the products just like Sephora. And okay, that's what I was.
Yes. Yeah, like we had Dermalogica. We had all the hottest, best brands because no one else was doing it quite like this. Wow. And especially like once we got Orbe and like Jennifer Aniston's brand, Living Proof, at the time launched with us. Like we were the first. It was crazy. So the way it worked, it was kind of like a pay to play. In that you sold us the product but you bought your shelf space, right? Because each one of these machines has their rent and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know, maybe 6 months in, we realized the advertising value that we had on these puppies. So these machines and where we had them placed are the busiest places at these airports. They also have a television. So you have a captive audience. You have, people that spend money. People will spend a premium at an airport. So brands were really starting to realize that what we had was valuable. And if I look back now, where Alexia and I were so smart is that we were really good at continually pivoting, right? So it was like, okay, this retail thing, it's great. It's barely covering each one of these machines. Do you know how many little things you have to sell to cover a machine? Like, it was really stressful. And so we were like, okay, start charging for, the shelf space. And then it was, okay, start charging for the advertising dollars. And we just kind of kept going. Well, the next thing you know, brands like Sugarfina, Honest Company, they were the hottest things at the time. This is when Jessica Alba was everywhere. They wanted to do machines with us. So they started white labeling our machines. So then we were figuring that out. And like, that was so cool. Well, meanwhile, we are so strapped and so stressed out because financially we had become a logistics company. That was not the goal. That was not what, and so we had done all these different things trying to figure out, do we raise more money? Like, what do we do? Because the machines were expensive. At that time, the people who owned the company we bought the machines from realized that what Alexi and I were doing was really unique, and we'd figured out how to sell their machines for them better than they had. So they were like, listen, let's wipe out the debt. Let's wipe out this machine stuff. You guys come here and work as our marketing arm, and you sell these programs, and you don't have to worry about making sure that things are stocked. And like, every single airport has their own like rules and regulations and security and the whole thing. So we were like, this is great. Well, that happened about 8 months, I guess, before COVID. So
You guys
had it not
also during 9/11, correct?
no, after, because the 3 fluid ounce thing was actually like it was after 9/11 because it was the guy with the shoes. It was around that time period. So we were, and again, this is where I'm horrible with date ranges. But it was right before COVID. And so we got out like so unscathed. I would have been destroyed. I mean, 100%. I would never be able to pay for all those leases. Like, airports were shut down for 4 years. Like, it worked out so well. I felt bad for the company that had, kind of done this with us, but there was no programs to sell. Well, we had started consulting a little bit, and one of the owners of Archipelago was leaving at the time. And so Alexi and I went back to them because we'd always had a great relationship, and we really stepped in. And we took that company through COVID, and, like so many home fragrance companies, we really had a boom. It was great. Maybe about a year after, so I've been doing this for a year and a bit, I realized I'm not meant to be working at one company anymore. I really love working with the founders. I love solving problems. I love strategy. I love all the pieces to being an entrepreneur. Yeah. And so it wasn't making sense for me to keep like being in the role that I was in. And so we all agreed, and it was very amicable and wonderful. And we're all still friends to this day. But I decided to start Claxton Consulting. As soon as I even mentioned, I'm thinking about consulting, boom, 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 boom. And that we have attracted like the best clients in the whole world. I have the most amazing like showrooms that we work with and reps and like Lindsay and like meeting you and all of this. So I was really lucky. So decided to start Claxton Consulting. A friend of mine, Jandy, her and her husband did a ton of like big production. Like, they did Kanye Sunday Service. They produced all of that. Wow. They did all of the Skims. Back when Kim started Kimono and then had to rebrand, they did the whole rebrand. Wow. So they just are like project manager, like amazing business people. Like, she really, Adidas had brought her into Sunday Service to figure out, could they make it profitable? Hate to tell you, no, they couldn't, but Jandy was the one doing all that. And if you think of like a shoot like that, every time you're going onto it, it's starting a new business. So I had gotten one client that I knew I was starting with right away and like had created this whole thing. And so I called her up and I was like, hey, do you mind looking at this? I'm doing this statement of work. I don't really know how to charge or anything like that. And she's like, yeah, great. I actually have a ton of time, blah, blah, blah. So after I went on my first like consulting, we do a discovery week thing. And I went and I started calling her for more and more. And she's like, you know what? We have a lot of bandwidth and we'd love to help you with this. I'm like, great. Okay, this works. Slowly but surely, the next thing you know, I can't live without them. They're amazing. And we've attracted these amazing clients. And so it originally started where people were bringing me in what they thought was, okay, she's going to help us with sales. Yes, I have a lot of connects. I've been in this industry a long time. I really think one of my superpowers is the ability to create the relationships with the reps that make all the difference if you really want to accelerate your sales. So, and I have a really good eye for finding white space. And so people were bringing me in for thinking we were going to drive sales. Yes, we absolutely drive sales. But what we realize is we realized it because we broke it, but we drove so hard one of the companies and their sales went through the roof and we broke the infrastructure. So it made it very clear that in order to do what we do, we need to really get in there and understand the process and how this all works. Because a lot of times companies always say, I need sales. And if I don't get sales, I can't exist. But really creating some of these efficiencies gives you so much better of a margin and it makes it possible for you to grow. So we really go in and we integrity check everything. And we really try to identify founders that were like me. Alexi and I at times were so scared and we would spend like our last $5,000 on a consultant that we thought was going to be the answer to our prayers. And every time we got burned. So it was so important to me when we were starting this that it be really something where we're adding value. And so with our clients, we make sure that they're on the same page. Like my favorite clients are the ones that come to us and they're like, hey, listen, I got here. I don't know what to do anymore. Can you come in and help us? Yes. Love that.
Okay. I have to ask you this because this is, what you're saying kind of goes along the lines when people bring in merchandisers. It's just making it pretty. There are other things. And it's like structurally, there is a lot of things behind the scenes that either are happening or you don't realize. But this is my question because the work, how you just said, my favorite clients are the ones I said, I got here. I don't know how, I need help. Do you have this situation? I'm sure you do, where people like, yes, I want to help you. So I want to help. And then you get in there and then it becomes like, well, I don't want to chase that or, and then it's like, I always tell people, like, if you're going to hire a merchandiser or a consultant or something like, you have to give up the keys. And it's scary. And I always say, like, the first thing I say to people, it's like, I'm just going to tell you right now, it is like, it is going to be, you're going to have to get very comfortable being uncomfortable because that's exactly what he said. Some of the things you're doing are what are stopping your sales. And it's because you're so used to doing it that way.
Yes.
You continue doing it that way, you're going to get the same results. And it's like, but you have, like, in order to change, like, you have to drop some old ways. And it's like, you say that, I can see why you love the customers that come in and say, take 100. Yes.
But even sometimes those clients, like, you get in and it's scary. And like I spend a lot of time, like, I joke that I'm a lot of people's like whoopee. I'm like, they're blanky because I get it. I have been there. I promise. Like, I have done weird stuff trying to like make things work. I get it. And like, I'm so confident in what we do that I think it translates because I'm like, I wouldn't come in here if I don't think I can help. Like, my goal is only to help you achieve your goal. And so we have out of, maybe 14 or 15 clients that we've worked with throughout the last year and a bit. We had one where we could not get anything done. Like, it was no. And we just had to say, please stop spending money on us. Like, there's not one thing I can get accomplished. And so love you. wish you all the best, but like, you shouldn't spend your money on us anymore. And
I love
so
that,
we're just,
that you're honest enough to say that. Cause I think like you said, you brought in consultants, and I think, especially now with Instagram and TikTok, there are a million consultants out there that, are everything from social media to whatever it is. And it's like, I think that some owners are so desperate that it's like, that's like and I've done it before myself when I was starting the podcast. It was like, oh, well, what if we bring in this person and they can do this? And Elisa, was my social media or my marketing person, she was like, look, that is not the fix it. Like, stick the course, stay the like, and so those, I think consultants, some of them, I'm pretty sure it's like, are obviously just there for, the money and, blah, blah, blah. You got to do this. And they're not genuine enough to say, like, stop spending your money. Like, we can't, letting us help you. We can't help you. And it's like, to keep spending the money. It's like, it does not.
Well, and then it's going to become out of alignment, and it's not going to feel good for you, and it's not going to feel good for us. And like, at the end of the day, we're not doing anything. So as much as sometimes it's scary to walk away from money, because again, like, we're a startup for all intents and purposes. And so it's scary sometimes to say no, but I've yet to see, I'm not even going to say but, and every time that we have veered towards what we know to be right, it takes care of itself. Yeah. Like, every single one of our clients keeps staying. Like, we keep being like, but, eventually you're going to want to do this on your own. And it's great. Like, our trajectory really tends to be about a year, maybe a little bit longer, depending upon how big the projects are and what we're doing. But you really get to know these founders, and you get to know all the people that work there. And so, like, we are all in it together. Like, one of the best things I heard recently from a client that we started with in January is, he was joking. He's like, do you even have other clients? I was like, that's how I want you all to feel. I want you all to feel like you're the only ones, and that you have all of our attention, So,
do you work with retailers as well, or it's manufacturers and showrooms?
For the most part. So it's interesting because we can do so many things with Jandy and their background, right? So, and with the things that I know. So we have started to get into a couple other where it's a project. If it's a project and you need someone to project manage something, we can absolutely come in if it makes sense and help through that process. For the most part, we are working with vendors and then helping figure out the rep relationship. Because a lot of people, like, it's so amazing to me how big this industry is, like I was saying in the beginning, but there's vendors in there and they have no idea how to create those relationships with the reps. Yeah. And so they're thinking, these reps should be selling. Why are they not selling? Well, did you provide them with their sales materials? Are you available to answer questions? Have you done training? No. Oh, well, there's the problem. You're hoping, like, you need to make it so easy that people can't wait to pull your product out of their bag.
I think that for retailers who are listening, I don't think they all understand how the relationship is, because, for us as buyers, you're in your store, someone calls you, or you go to the show and you meet, and a lot of times one of Lindsay's reps and one of her retailers I interviewed at the show, and it was talking about the relationship, to lean into your relationship with because your rep is your best friend. But behind that, as a manufacturer, for the manufacturers listening, if you don't give them the tools they need, just like anybody, and it's like, I look at temporaries, and it's like, as a manufacturer, you sign up for temporaries. If you're a brand new manufacturer, they are not hold your hand and walk you through the process. They're just like, take your check. Here's your 10 by 10. You have your pipe and drip, and do this, and the other, and good luck. And you have shitty shows, and it's like, no one. So what I want to break down a little bit is, like, when you work with a manufacturer, what you do all the things, but for the people who don't know what all the things are, kind of break down, like, an instance of somebody brought you in because they wanted more sales. What does it look like to work with you?
Okay, so we've kind of really fine-tuned our methodology because just from, client to client, you just keep getting better at what you do, or hopefully. And so we have what we call a discovery and immersion period. So that is where we're going to meet with the founder or whoever's in charge. And they're going to tell us what their goal is. Is your goal to sell in 3 to 5 years? Is your goal to just build this thing into a beast? Is your goal status quo? What are your goals? What are your dreams? Do you no longer, like a lot of times they've lost the passion in it because it's been too hard for too long. And they would like to either reignite that, or they've got this great business and they just want someone else to run it. Okay, great. In order to get the right person in there, let's figure out what exactly it is that you need. And so through the discovery process, we meet with all the different heads of every different department, and we do calls, and we have a whole list of questions and stuff that we start to dig into and pulling all the information. And that takes about 8 to 12 weeks, depending upon the size of the company, because we're really like digging in and we're starting to participate in meetings and understanding kind of how their flows go. Typically, we end up going in person for at least, 3 or 4 days to really understand what they're working with. And then we just put together a priority list of what projects and how we want to tackle it. And if they have a sales manager type of person, or they just like, sometimes it's as easy as they've got an amazing sales manager, but they need someone to like teach them how to do show etiquette. Because things that seem so obvious to those of us that have been doing shows forever are not obvious to everyone. So like just kind of talking through soft skills, or we are doing 2 of our companies or 2 of our clients are in the middle of ERP integrations. So we have project managed that whole thing. Well, then you know everything.
What is ERP?
Okay. So your ERP is the heart of your company. So that's going like from QuickBooks, for example, into NetSuite. And so it's how you run absolutely everything. So you can imagine the stress and how hard it is to take all your information from one place, feed it into the other. And then this is how you're going to run your business for the foreseeable future. And so that's been a big uplift, but we get in there and it just, by the end of the first, I would say 3 weeks, we're usually pretty clear where we have to start. And then it's just kind of figuring out, sometimes they have none of the people stack. And it's like, okay, I have to find one person there that can be our everything, like can pull the information, get us reports, because so many times they've gotten to wherever they've gotten because they were reactionary. And of course, it was like you did a couple trade shows and all of a sudden, wow, you're doing $1 million and then $2 million and then 10. And you're like, oh crap, now what do I do? Yeah. And so really, our scale goes from, we have clients from, as kind of more startup, $500,000 to one of our clients is $100 million company. So it just kind of depends what they need. Sometimes it's like, hey, we know Kate Duff knows the industry. Can we just get some industry information? So, but we do always start with that discovery and immersion and then build.
I think that people, because I've now that I'm doing Zoom consults, I've said, we're going to spend 2 hours and it's a deep dive into your business. We're going to walk through the floor. I want to see your cabinetry. I want to see how you're merchandising. And, I don't think people realize how important that time is. And it's like, for me, I'm visual. If I'm not going to be at the store, I need to be able to walk around with you and ask you questions and you explain, really take a look at the store. It's not just like a surface. Oh, okay. We're kind of looking at stuff. Okay, let's go. It's like, if you are really going to hire somebody and you're going to spend the money on somebody to get, you expect to spend some time. And sometimes it's for I'm super impatient. So I understand, I have one client. No, it's like, okay, what's the next step? It's like, okay.
Yes.
Well, I still need to see X, Y, and Z. I
still have no idea what's going on.
I know what you think I need, but I need to.
And there's pre-want sales. I'm like, got it.
Yeah. And then I think I think that sometimes that's what gets in some owners' way, where it's like, what's the quick fix, or and it's like, no, that's how you got here. It's like,
totally. And it does take time. And it's interesting seeing because really you need to go through a show season, right? Like we need to understand how you're doing it. Oh, wait. And yes, there's low hanging fruit we can do along the way. Like, hey, I can call a couple key accounts. There's always things we can be doing. But at the end of the day, we really have to learn a lot in order to get the most out of what we do. And so I feel like we get stronger, kind of like we were talking about a little bit before. The more confident you get in what you offer, the more confident you are to keep your boundaries and this is how I do it, because it doesn't serve them if I'm not in true integrity in what Claxton Consulting does. For me to say, you know what, I get it, let's do it your way. No, that's not going to serve.
Thank you. And that's what I was saying earlier. It's like, we can't keep doing the same thing and expect to have a different result. Like, you're gonna
have to spend the money.
Yeah. And it's that's hard. It's like, I'm like not inexpensive, but I'm definitely not like, I've had a couple calls with merchandisers and they're like, you should be at this amount an hour. I'm like, I want to work for people for a long time. Like I'm in a project, like I'll do the projects like when we did Transpac, but by far and large, I've with Stephen Young for 18 years. Like I want to make enough where it is comfortable for me, but I also want to I want to be where they, at the end of a show season, and we're talking a lot of hours, don't look at it and go, okay, we're going to have to pass in the next couple seasons.
Yeah.
I just put all my, so
yes.
I understand that, but there's definitely, there's an investment, and it's like,
100%. And it's important to stick to what your value, whatever it is, right? Like, and I think we are very, very moderately priced for the amount of work and everything that we do to go in. And I do it purposefully from the fact of I've been there myself, and I know that once we get in there and we get doing what we're doing, their sales naturally are going to be way higher than they were. And so far, everyone makes good and we figure it out and everyone feels good about the whole scenario. But there is always that awkward beginning part where people are like, I'm not getting anything yet. I'm not getting anything. And you really have to build the trust at that point and know that, okay, I could start to panic and start to try to pull levers and do something because these people need that's not the way to go about it. We have to go slowly, figure out what's going on, figure out what you need, and then we're going to help you. We are not just going to tell you what to do and then leave you. We are going to tell you what needs to happen, and we're going to help you make that happen. If you're scared and you don't know how this cash flow is going to go, great. We're going to build out a cash flow statement for you so you can see, we're going to have a dip, but I'm going to call in a favor here and we're going to figure it out. Like I have had to call and say, hey, I can only pay 50% this week and 50% next week. And I've done all that in my own life. So I am totally happy to help people figure out what they need to do, because I think a lot of times it's when you feel like you're the only one and you have no one to bounce things off of, you create your own cap. And when you create your own cap, you can't see beyond it. And that's when a fresh set of eyes is important.
I think a fresh set of eyes for any business, it's like you have to get out of your own head because you've been looking at it and you've been like we had the conversation after this, as a freelance person, you have panic moments of like, am I going to work? And it's like, the more you worry and the more you think about it, the more it's like what you put out comes back. And next thing you know,
yes.
God, like you
totally freeze your energy. Totally.
How many people have you had to talk off the ledge?
I think people all day, every day. So a lot.
I love the term. I'm everybody's wubby. I love that.
Yeah, but please call me. I know what that felt like. I felt alone. I was scared. I didn't know what the heck to do. And I felt like everything was on my shoulders. And there was no one. My family is amazing. My friends, incredibly supportive. But I'm like, you all are out there telling me you're such a badass and you've started this company and you're so cool and all this stuff. And internally, I'm like, I've raised all this money. I have no idea what I'm doing. There was no one I could really lead on. My best friend in high school growing up, her dad, Steve Devick, badass. I learned so much from him. And so like I could call him and he would help me figure it out. But I love that part of my job. Oh, I love the puppy. I love being able, like, I'll get a text message from a founder that'll be like, thank you so much. I felt like, like whatever it is. And you're just like, I'm so glad now you can go enjoy your night.
I think it's, you as consultants, I think you build that trust, and trust is not just, I trust she's going to take care of my business, but the trust is as far as like another human, and like you become friends with them and family. It's like, it's somebody,
100%.
And I think that's another thing of hiring somebody from the outside is like, in order to build that relationship you have to let a lot of walls down.
Yes.
And I think
and it's
super hard.
It's so hard. And especially we find a lot of times, with men. And so having that, they'll feel like, well, did I do it all wrong? No, not at all. We're just now going to fine tune it to make it possible for you to scale to like your dream's desire. That's it. You did nothing wrong. So like the ego part of it, getting people to just realize everyone was doing whatever they could to make it work. And you got there. Like, that's amazing. Now we are just going to help you fine tune it. That's it.
That's amazing. I love that. So can you talk about any of your clients? And if not, I totally understand.
Oh, like I could tell you who they are. I can't tell you, obviously.
My favorite.
They're honestly all our favorite. So we work with Softies. I love that brand. My blankets, robes. It's yummy stuff. We have, pardon me?
Who reps Softies?
They're in the Patrick and Co showroom. So this will be their first season there. Ooh. They're with Schaubin. They're with Fine Lines.
I know.
Yeah. So it's so great. And then, we work with McRae's caramels, which are the best caramels in the world. Coolest story. Their founders, were both biologists or scientists, super, super smart, cerebral. Jason McRae got laid off, started making caramel because caramel is very scientific and finicky, and started going to like different trade shows and stuff. Next thing you know, they had this booming business. So we love working with them. We work with Hot Diggity Dog. Hot as in like HAUTE, because they are like the premier parody dog toy. So they have Chewy Vuitton and White Paw.
And they're with Just Gotta Have It, right?
Yes, they were Just Gotta Have It in the West Coast, and they're with Getz in Dallas, and there was Chauvin in Atlanta and the Harper Group on the East Coast, and they have the cutest stuff. And they were actually our first official clients, so we special place in our hearts for that. We work with Alex, which is a great home fragrance company, and they are doing a cool rebrand. Really excited to see how that comes out. I have been working with Nora Fleming, my favorite people, as are all my clients, but I grew up with Nora and her brother, John. So that's always been a super...
Didn't Janice that works with her also grow you guys? So all three of you all grew up together?
Yes, she didn't grow up with us, but Janice was the very first employee for Nora Fleming.
Okay. My God.
She's been there since the beginning, and she was very close with Nora and her family beforehand. So everyone's known each other a long time. I was in John's grade. And so that was always so funny too, because we would be at the trade shows together, and there he was with like his card table, and like Nora would be and we were all had no idea what we were doing. And he's like, I have this great idea. My sister made this thing. There's a plate, there's a hole, and you put the thing in it. Now it's this beast of a company that like literally moves through the world with such kindness, and I can't say enough good things.
I think it's $1 million is what her donation, her piece for St. Jude's?
Oh, it's going to be over $1 million by the time we're done with this thing. Like, it is bananas.
I've heard interviews coming up because I did the live interview with her, as you know, at the show in Dallas Market Center. And I brought her back on because there were sound issues. Oh my God. I mean, she's honestly one of the most genuine people that I've ever
beyond genuine. Like, okay, so I was just in Chicago and they had a signing. I mean, I'd seen it in social media. I've heard people talk about it. To see how people react when they see her, and they wait in line all the way around the building, double the amount of people we thought. Like, they keep getting bigger and bigger, and we keep thinking, okay, we have to have like maxed this out. No, they keep growing because she's so genuine and she cares. And one plate, many occasions. Well, think about the occasions. Like, you're celebrating life events, so people feel like they know her and they care about her brother and that he passed, and they care about everything. And she can just relate to so many things. I can't say enough good things about her. I loved her forever. She always laughs because I was a freshman, she was a senior, and she was so cool. And she is very tall and I am very short. So when we go to things, we're like Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and she loves to send me that meme. But she was just always cool. Like, she was just always, always, always cool. And we work with Lazy Jack Press. I don't know if you know them. They're pretty new. Very cool Italian ties, but like cute. Like, they have like solo cups on them. Very like preppy, very frat boy, with bow ties and socks. And they have the cute, like super preppy headbands, but it's all like Italian fabrics. They're beautiful.
Wow.
And they're in Getz, and then they're going to be showing in Appleman shop, or oh my gosh, I shouldn't say Appleman, in Chauvin for the next show season. So we're super excited.
When you work with these vendors, because you're involved in everything, you are working with them with their rep groups. Because I know when I met you, you were in Lindsay's showroom and then down in.
Yes.
So I love that you also work with because the relationship, how important that relationship is.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Well, I would say that's probably one of the biggest offerings that Claxton provides, is understanding that rep relationship. So I'm very close, and it's been fun because you think you know everyone, right? Like, I walk around, I'm like, hello. And then you realize, oh, you only know like a quarter of the showrooms in this whole place. So it's been interesting because I've been close with Lindsay from Patrick for a long time. I was very close with Patrick. Chauvin, I feel I wasn't even 20. I don't even think I was 20 the first time I was in their showrooms. Like, I've known the Harper guys forever and so close. Like, I've known all the people that I knew for so long, but it's been fun. Like, I was very, very close with Just Gotta Have It and Barbie and Michelle. And like, so it's cool to now meet these new showrooms. Like, I just met Stephen Young for the first time. Now, I thought he was amazing and the showroom was spectacular, but to get to like meet him and have that conversation, I'm close with Matt from Fine Lines, and I just got off a great call with the Field Stone. Like, it's cool. It's fun. And I just always say, because I think a lot of times the showrooms will say, oh God, not another sales consultant, no more rent to sales managers, and they don't want to work with them.
Yeah.
So I'm always very quick to be like, I am so pro rep. I think that relationship is so important. I totally think there's a place for fair, and I think there's a way to make it all work in the same situation. But that rep relationship, I have always felt, was imperative for the vendor side and the retailer side, because the vendors, that's the way that we find out what retailers really need and what they want and what we're not doing, and vice versa, right? Like, they can say to us, hey, listen, this, amazing store is doing so well with this, but what do we do? And it really, I think, closes the loop on the relationship, having a really fabulous rep. So I am very pro rep, very, open to all of the showroom stuff. And I love working with all the people.
So you had just touched on, and because fairs, obviously the phenomenon, and people are very afraid or do not like, because I think there's some lawsuit that's going on. They put another.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and I don't know, like, most people who buy from fair don't realize, and it's like, there's not a lot of people who say there's a place for it. It's kind of like what I believe in Amazon. It's like, Amazon's always going to be there. It's like, it's fair to me. It doesn't bother me for the competition part. It bothers me because, you can't find the whole line on it. They don't, if something sells out, there's things about it.
It's
that
good for like a quick reorder. It's good for finding small
pandemic benefits. It's like, but it's not the be all end all. And I think that a lot of people think that's everyone's going to start going there. Like, everyone's going to start buying it from Amazon. It's like, no, but in the other breath is that you don't with Fair, you don't have reps. You don't have someone that takes care of you, that is going to come up and is going to worry about you, or you can call and say, this broke. Like that's the part of that I don't think retailers realize, is that by utilizing only Fair all the time, you are shorting yourself out on having somebody to actually help you with your business. And
to tell you what is going on in the marketplace. What are the other hot lines out there? You're just going on at night. And like I said, like I would love to talk to someone from Fair, because I'm like, listen, this is how you make this work. Like you get in there with these rep agencies and you all work together to make this amazing, because the industry is massive and it's not going anywhere. And we are in desperate need of new ideas and more technology and all of that. But the problem is Fair came in and we're like, we're not going to do anything the way you guys were doing it. We want you to come and do it our way, very much so like Amazon. Yeah. And so it's an interesting thing. We have clients, they're on Fair. Some of them do great business on there. And I think it works in certain places where it's a quick reorder, right? I prefer, again, and I will always push the rep relationship. Do your reorder through the reps. Do everything through your rep when you have a great rep. But I get like wanting to quickly at night. I just think you really miss out on so much more.
You miss out on somebody, you miss out on a relationship. You miss out on somebody who really, really wants to help you and cares. But you touched on the commission thing. I don't even know if you touched on it. It just came to my head. But when retailers go to Fair first when they skip over your rep does not make commission on that. And it's like,
and a lot of times they don't realize that.
And I don't think retailers know that. And it's like, no one wants to talk about it. And I've wanted to talk about it. It's like, okay, so now I'm going to bring it up. But Fair is great for easy shopping. I need something. Totally. You want that's in between show series. But all I can say is if you see something on Fair that your rep, go to your rep, because you are literally skipping over them. And if you want them to take care of you, you have to understand. It's just like when customers go into your store and look at something and go, oh, I can buy it on Amazon. And then they leave. It's
exactly the same thing.
So I'm glad we touched on this, because I've had several conversations. I'm not even going to say who with, but it's like, there's no one talk about this. And it's like, I keep saying, come on and talk about it, because no one, but it is exact same thing of a customer coming in and saying, I'm going to buy, how much is it? I'm going to buy it on Amazon.
I'm going to go get it on Amazon. And here's the thing that people don't realize, there is a Fair direct link that your rep can use, that if you insist on placing those quick reorders at night on Fair, they'll still get commission from their vendors.
You have to use it.
You have to get the direct link. For the most part, retailers, they don't want their rep not getting commission. And a lot of times, like, I'll fight for the rep to make sure they're getting their commission too. Because if you have a good rep, not only do they save you from maybe buying product that it wouldn't be a good fit in your store, but talk about people, the number one thing, territory protection. Like, you're retail out there, you don't want the store next door. How do you control that? You work with a local rep. Yep. They know what stores can coexist. They know how the whole thing works. And that's their bread and butter too. Like, we all work together. And so, like I said, Fair has a place, but there's a way to make it work for everybody. And I am, always going to be more pro rep than anything else.
So glad we just talked about that. Do you want to ask, like, for retailers, what is something retailers that you suggest that retailers should be asking for from their vendors, and something that you're working with your vendors and saying, like, this is what retailers need? Like, what would you suggest to retailers?
I think some of the best things are making sure that you're getting all the updated training materials, because too, like, when people are coming into your store, they're assuming you're an expert in whatever it is that you've curated. But there'll be like fun little things that you just never knew about McRae's caramels. Like it really does make a difference when you're in there and you're saying, hey, taste this black lava sea salt. It's incredible. They were, biologists, scientists, like this really is an amazing product. And so I think it's making sure you have making sure you have whatever the right samples are. So like in home fragrance, it's a big thing, making sure you're switching those out, because otherwise if your testers sit out too long, they'll lose some of that fragrance or they'll turn yellow, which you can avoid that because of the oils and you don't want to, but you want your stuff to look nice. And
can I tell you how many times like I go into stores, not my retailers, but like I've gone into I've had one retailer and it was like, yeah, they're not in business anymore. So I can say this. And I've said other things about that. I love the family, but it was a famous pharmacy in Hollywood or Beverly Hills, and love them, but no one ever cleaned the store. And no one ever got new samples. I'm like, why don't you? Or the other one is if the product is sold out, pull the sample off your.
Oh, exactly.
Like, and I'll go through and my retailers do that. They'll leave one out. And it's like, why is this still out? Well, it's like, just pull it off the floor. And but the
also talk to the vendors about slow moving product. Like, I love when a retailer comes to me and says, hey, listen, I do great with your line and Softies is blowing off my shelves, but I've got these 3 things that are not moving. Great. That doesn't work for your store. Let's do a markdown dollars and let's get you into product that moves. Like a lot of times I think retailers don't realize they can ask for that.
Yeah. And is it like, are vendors open to that, or is it
100%? Because we know that that's going to get more turns. So, I mean, maybe not all, like
just trust the vendor more.
Yeah, absolutely. Because to me, and this is what I learned from Meg Tully, was the markdown dollars is one of the best ways to create the relationship. And the way it works is, so you ask them, say they've got, 3 things that aren't moving. Give us your inventory on those things. I'm going to give you 30% of that as a credit towards your next order. So you mark down those and you're going to place an order. You're going to have that credit and you're going to get product in that actually moves. So it's good for the retailer and it's good for the vendor because you're building that relationship.
Now, with the retailers, do they call their rep to do that?
Always. Yeah. I think always work through your rep first, because the rep, again, it has that relationship. But if you don't work with reps, then go directly to your vendor.
Okay. I do want to talk about this one book, because when you and I started talking, I'm about the human design. We've had Renee on, and I know a lot of people have actually reached out to Renee, who's a human design coach.
Yes.
And she's amazing. And you and I talked about this book.
Yes, look at all your posts. That's like mine. My stuff's all like, yep.
I've never marked a book like this, but I will say it's like this book has helped in so many ways, in the sense of letting go of worries, and they're super short chapters. So it's not like they're like lessons. She was an astrologer and also a writer. And then she wrote this book. So they're written in short little, almost column, like newspaper column. And it's basically letting the divine take the lead. And it's, trusting, building that trust muscle of, okay, you're worried about something, you're stressed about something. And we've talked about this before, is that, when you consistently worry, and then you start checking the bank account, and then three more. It's like, all it does is create more. And this book,
look for the green lights instead. Look for the things that are working, because you will create more of them. And this book is what taught me that.
It literally, and I said this to you off camera about moving here, and it was like, we moved to Oregon. Literally, we know 4 people here. We didn't have a house. We drove from Vegas to here, and that insane storm that hit California in February. Yeah. Like, thank God stayed in our friend's Airbnb or his guest house, but trying to look for a house and like knowing our timeline was coming up. And it was like, I was starting to worry so bad, which was just putting more worry out there. And I was reading this book at the same time, and I got to the chapter and it was like, I'm going to have to just trust that
Yes.
house that we are supposed to be in will present itself. And it holy shit, it did. And it's like,
not.
if I could send this book to everybody I know that worries about one thing or another,
Yes.
we all worry, go get this book. Like, seriously. And I'll have a link in it. And
yeah, make sure there's a link to that one, Outrageous Openness, because it just truly, life is always happening for us. Not to be like woohoo, it's just the facts. And so the more you can lean into it, the more you get into the flow. And it doesn't mean you don't have off days and awful things don't happen and all those. It's just, you just have to keep going and look for the things that are working and lean towards those. The other book I always tell people to read is The Big Leap, because that one really gets into, it's great that you have superpowers, but there's a zone of genius where you should be just flowing and really figuring out where you are creating your own cap. And a lot of times we move through the world and we don't realize that whether it's fear or just, we've always done it this way, we're creating a cap that you don't even need anymore. It's a fake safety net. And so those are the two books that, if you're more woo woo, The Outrageous Openness, The Big Leap is more less woo woo, I guess.
It's funny because Renee, who I would just mention, she put out her book list, and I just literally went through. It was like order.
Check.
When you had said that and we moved, all my books that I had, I took like maybe 2 or 3 books with me to Vegas, and everything else went in storage. So when we were taking everything out of the boxes and I'm going through my books, the big leap was actually in there already.
No, that's awesome.
And it was like, I went to go buy it. And then I realized, I'm like, holy shit, I already have this book. Like, talk about like,
yes, that is meant to be.
Thank you. I know this has gone on long, but thank you. So, it's 2:22 is what time it is right now.
Hey, I love it.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
So excited to see you. Like, we're both on the Gift for Life board. I will see you on the call tomorrow, but I'm so excited to see you during the show season and see your clients.
Just the beginning of our relationship, Michelle. Just the beginning.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.